right, first off, tell me your name and a little bit about you.
Billy Carver. I'm 30 years old. I'm a senior pastor at Mount Alto Baptist Church, and I'm from Rome. Lived here pretty much my whole life.
So you're 30 and a pastor. That's a pretty young age to get into it. Why get into that type of profession?
Um, it really, that's a long story. It goes back to my childhood. Um, I was raised in church. I went to Dole Road Baptist Church as a kid. Had the perfect American family. And somewhere along the way, a little thing called sin got involved, and drugs and other things, and ended up with a broken home. And I really struggled to find my own way. I partied, I searched everywhere I could to find fulfillment and to fill the void that was left by my family. And got saved at a church in Silver Creek called His Church at 18 years old, and began to really seek and follow the Lord. And just a few years later, I was serving at something called Heaven's Gates Hell's Flames at a church in Cartersville, and had the opportunity to lead a kid to Christ. And after that, I began to feel the Lord tell me that my storm was for a reason. Everything I'd went through, there was a purpose behind it. And I felt the call on my life, and so I just began to submit and follow His will, and doors began to open.
How did that do for your friends and your family? Because that's a tough. It's a great direction, but it's a tough direction.
It's tough. I have friends today that I consider family. And I don't get to see them as much as I used to. I don't get to spend time with them because their lifestyle doesn't match the life I've chose to live. And so I'm there for them. They know I'm a phone call away. And I know the same thing is there for them, but our lives have just taken us different paths. As for my family, the past few years have been really nice. We began to see the Lord work in my family. We all went our separate ways, my mom, my dad, my sister, and I. And just a few years ago, for the first time, we were all together again. And I've seen them get in church lately and get involved. So that's been exciting, but it's been bittersweet, to say the least.
What's been the most rewarding part about getting to pastoring?
It's hard to pinpoint one thing. Probably the most rewarding part of it for me is just the opportunity to serve. And I know that doesn't sound, like something you'd say, but really it's very rewarding. There's a young man that I met in my time at being the youth minister at Floyd Springs that I've really had the opportunity to pour into his life and disciple him, and to look at him and see him grow as a young man, grow into his role in life as he's making decisions about college and other things, and to know that somewhere along the way you've had an impact. That's probably the most rewarding.
What's been the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge has been losing people, friends, family, and even people I've gotten close to through church. I believe the kingdom of God is all about relationship. It's relationship with God, and it's relationship with each other. And so I try to get very involved in people's lives. And sometimes life takes you separate ways. And so there's constantly that moving on and losing those close relationships and making new relationships. And there's disappointment, there's hurt, there's frustrations, there's so many things. But I would say having life take you different directions is probably the biggest struggle.
Gotcha. And finally, what is it about your church and in Floyd County that you love, and why should people come see you?
Floyd County's home. I talk to people all the time, and I hear that a lot, but there's something about this community, everything it offers. It's always been home. I moved away for a short time, lived in Bartow County and Cartersville, and my wife and I found ourselves coming back to Rome to eat and to see our friends, and so we certainly love it here. And then Mount Alto Baptist Church is an absolutely wonderful congregation of people. They're down to earth, and it's probably the most kind congregation I've ever been a part of. And so it's home. and it's where God's put me.
And what time services?
Sunday morning, we begin at 9:30 with Sunday school. We have our worship service at 10:30. Sunday night at 6:30, and then on Wednesday nights at 6:30. And we've got some exciting stuff going on right now.
Is there more chances if you want to find some information about the church? Where can I find you?
Absolutely. It's www.mountalto.com, NTALTO.com, and then we're on Facebook as well.